welcome to the Crafty Mini, and this episode we're going to paint GIMLI for my little Lord of the Rings diorama, which is going to be a gift for someone. With this one, very much like the last two, just showing you very briefly how it works and the layering process and things. And then at the end of this video we'll actually have the reveal of the full fellowship all done on their little diorama base. So very much like the Gandalf and the Boromir, starting off with just getting the foundation colours on. Now with the GIMLI, because there's not a lot of skin present, I'm going to go in and get that done first because it's sort of sunken into the miniature, so I don't want to have to worry about painting over other colours in future. So we'll just get this put on because the beard's going to be quite prominent, and obviously the armour and the cape as well. And I'm sort of sticking it roughly to the Fellowship of the Ring Peter Jackson film in terms of the colours on the actual miniatures. So Gimli's going to have, although there's not much showing on his armour because the beard's so prominent, I'm going to be using that dark red that he has in the film, but we're going to use that mainly on his back, and then very simple sort of metal accents for the helmet with some gold bits on top as well. So just working my way through getting in all the base colours. So the skin's done, and now it's time to work on the beard. So getting that all base coated in brown, and we're going to use the exact same process as the previous two videos. Right, so onto the cloak, which is sort of like the main colour accent for this one. Now what I've done here is I've mixed a little bit of the dark brown into the red because I find it's a really nice base for if you want bright reds, because when you accent up and you start highlighting with a lighter red, the initial red that I would have used before mixing the brown, it just makes it pop a little bit more. And especially with all the folds and the cape and everything, like with the other two miniatures you've seen and the full fellowship at the end, these miniatures have been absolutely joy to paint. So there's very little detail, but what there is overly stylised as well, like the Gandalf's beard, the cloaks, and especially when you see Aragorn in his green cloak that I've done, it just makes it pop a little bit more. You get a nice variation with the colours and the contrast between light and dark, and it's just a much nicer miniature to paint. It's very, as I mentioned in one of the other videos, it's very reminiscent of painting the Moonstone stuff because it's highly stylised and not filled with all that sort of, sometimes being Welsh has spoken about this on the previous podcast, miniatures that are just festooned with little bits of detail which are nice, but then you don't trying to paint them, it just becomes a mash of colours and you don't really get to see the miniature in its full, as it were. Now, as I mentioned, with this particular miniature, because the beard is so prominent, there's very few little details to pick out. So it's mainly his boots, his gloves, and then we've got things, there's a little bit of armour. And I have noticed, this is when I noticed that just above his gauntlets there's a little, like an elbow joint showing, which originally I thought was armour, so that'll get just touched up with the flesh colour again as well. And just going around picking out all these last little bits. There's a single pouch on his one side by his axe to pick out, and just getting all these blocked in. Once they're done, before we hit the metallics, it's a case then of just making sure anywhere where I might have, let's say, gone over with the boots, brown on his beard for example, just make sure that gets touched up with the original colour just so everything matches. And there's a little bit where I've gone over on his face by his nose with the beard colour, which needs neatening up as well. And remember, like with the previous two videos and every time I paint, the main ones are, take your time with it. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you do make a mistake, just keep going and then come back and rectify it later. And as I've always said, make sure you're having fun with your actual painting. This is supposed to be a hobby, not a job. So everything's neatened up, and now it's time to pick out all the little metallic areas. So we've got these sort of steel toe caps that are external, picking out the axe blades, the helmet, anything like that, and just going around with some nice silver and just picking those out. What I tend to do for sort of armour silver is I use Procryl's dark silver, and I mix a little bit of normal silver in with it just to brighten it slightly, because otherwise it sometimes doesn't register as actual metallic on the miniature when you're painting. But just go around, pick out all these details, and get it ready for the wash stage. Right, so everything's picked out. You can see that I've done a little bit of gold trim and his little pendant, just to break up the silver a bit more and again give a bit more visual interest. Now it's a case of going around with that wash, like we did with Gandalf and Boromir, and start putting this over all the details, just so it goes into the recesses. You get that bit more contrast between light and dark, and then we'll go from them. We'll use the original base coats just to pick out some layers on top. Really simple way of painting, and for this scale it turns out really nice. It looks good. Now with GIMLI I've done something slightly different. So the skin tone, I'm using the same wash. That's because I want to just look a bit more rough and ready, as opposed to the humans and Redgrass. They'll have their own different skin washes, but the rest of the miniatures all have this same brown wash as well. So like we did on the other two miniatures, going to go in now with the base coats and just pick out some of those details. Now again, because this is very extremely stylised in the way the sculpt's been done, there's lots of cool little areas you can pick out. Like on the beard, there's lots of these pronounced little tufts of hair, so they're just going to get a little touch up with the original brown. All the folds on the cape, some of the little bits on the metallics just to make them pop a little bit more, things like that. Really simple way of painting, and it's been fun to go back and do something a bit more relaxed as well, because at this point a lot of these videos you're seeing at the start of the year have been pre-recorded, just because of real life work gets busy this time of year for me, so I don't have time to sit and paint. And then because I've painted a variety of different things, it's been nice to just go kick back and paint something a bit fun, and not be as sort of bothered by it, and not trying to do excessively high detail on everything. It's just something that it works, it shows enough contrast, and when it's all together, which you'll see in a minute, the finished actual fellowship, they all look pretty good together, and it's a nice little piece. And as I say, this was done, it's going to go to a friend for their present for Christmas, as they're a big Lord of the Rings fan. It's a nice little ensemble piece, and it's one of those things with our hobby, share it with people. Because the amount of times I've given stuff to people who have no idea what miniature painting is, and they're absolutely amazed when you tell them that you've painted that by hand. They can't believe it, and even if it's not the best paint job, they're still amazed, because it's something not a lot of people do. So use it, use your gifts, and share these little things out for people, and it's a more personalised gift as well, which is nice, and it's something you've taken a bit of time on, and it's something personal to that person. Yeah, it's definitely something I do think we should share as miniature hobbyists, and have fun with, and I don't know. I just think it's a cool gift to give someone, something that you've actually put time and effort into, as opposed to just buying a normal gift. And it's always fun seeing their faces and how amazed they are that you've painted this. And as I say, these miniatures have been an absolute joy to paint. The sculpt quality is fantastic. It's all the detail and everything. Like Gandalf's beard really stands out because it's overly massive. The stylisation of everything. They're not actually filled with a lot of little bits of detail and things that you've got to go in and paint. They're very simple, but there's enough there to pick out and really make the piece stand. But you'll see now the finished actual fellowship on its little scenic base, and we'll go from there. And here they are all done. So really simple base, nothing much to it, just a little bit of cork for some height variation, and then I've gone in with some tile grout that I use just to sort of blend everything together, and then a couple of different colours, dry brushed, whatever I had left on the palette really. And you can see all the close-ups of the actual fellowship now. As I say, absolute joy to paint. Really I've enjoyed this sort of taking it simple and not worrying too much about painting stuff in hyper detail and all that, just having a bit more fun, and every so often it's nice. It's almost like a palette cleanser as well. But thank you very much for watching, hope you've enjoyed it. If you want more of these sort of basic paint jobs for people, if it helps, then just let me know, and we'll see you all on the next one. Cheers.